I have now been in Thailand for a few weeks now. I am still yet to see a tiger uppercut and have failed to bump into Sagat thus far. Today I find myself at the Sanctuary of Truth, which is all spiritual and stuff. So maybe, if I am lucky today, I will bump into Dao Sim, or at least get to see a bloody yoga flame. The Sanctuary is an all-wood building, filled with sculptures based on traditional Buddhist and Hindu motifs. The top of the building is 105 metres high, and it beautifully stands in its own grounds. It features contemporary visionary art based on traditional religious themes. The style of the Sanctuary evokes Khmer architecture, displaying hand-carved wooden sculptures indicative of the imperial setting of Angkor. It has 4 Gopura respectively representing images from the Buddhist and Hindu religions and mythologies of Cambodia, China, India, and of course Thailand. The building was created to help visitors understand ancient life, human responsibility, basic thought, the cycle of life, life relationships with the universe, and the common goal of life towards utopia. So, after visiting the Sanctuary of Truth, I reached a state of cultural enlightenment. I realised that I had been missing something the entire time I had been in Thailand, and that without it in my life, my existence is far from complete. Of course, the element of my life I am talking about is, of course, the Virtual Boy, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah! I got my Virtual Boy whilst in Chicago a few months back, and since then I have had fun with it, playing it atop the Grand Canyon and outside Colchester Castle back in England. Sadly, since I'm travelling light on this trip, I have had to leave my Virtual Boy at home this time. However, this isn't going to stop me from talking about one of the system's many gems in this video today. As discussed previously in my videos, the Virtual Boy's entire global library only ever consisted of 22 games around the world, and Nintendo phased this failed system out after only being on the market for 1 year. Lucky for us though, even to this very day, the system is still alive to some degree. Thankfully these days, the system has a highly passionate homebrew community who are consistently pumping out new games. There are now probably more decent homebrew games available for the platform than there are bloody officially licensed games available for the product. It is a shame really that many people now hold a generally negative opinion regarding the Virtual Boy, and now seem to think they know everything about the bloody system these days, just because they watched an AVGM video about it once. One of the most impressive homebrews for the platform of all is Hyper Fighting, which is a fantastic little port of Street Fighter 2. Sadly, Capcom never blessed Nintendo's doomed Virtual Boy with the classic fighter, so it is great these cheeky fans come to the rescue with this love letter to the franchise so that we got to play the game in red and black dodgy 3D glory. Yeah! When I say play the game though, I use that term very loosely, because the truth is that this is one of the most sought after homebrew games on our whole bloody planet. Completing box copies of this incredibly well crafted homebrew game Hyper Fighting are now out there in the wild. But sadly, this game obviously never saw a public release due to the copyright dilemma the creators would have faced. The sales were extremely hush-hush and done by private messages to avoid any of it getting out before people got their copies. Thankfully for you though, ladies and gentlemen watching today, I have been given permission to use YouTuber Vectric Rolly's footage of the game so that we can all gaze in awe at one of the few existing copies of this game. The game obviously comes on a proper Virtual Boy cartridge and comes in a fantastic, authentic looking Virtual Boy game box. The developers of this game even went as far as to ship the game with a proper manual, which is of high quality and comes packed with information, explaining the game's controls, its rules, modes and options. It even has sections showing artwork of each character, giving you their backstory and showing you the controls for executing each of the character's special moves when using a Virtual Boy controller. The copies of this game that do exist now sell for thousands of dollars when they come up on eBay, which even for me personally is a bit rich for a homebrew bloody title. The physical copies of this game feature a custom board, which was apparently needed to fit the ROM on, and also if you intend on emulating this game, you're out of luck there too, as the ROM for this game has never been dumped online to my knowledge. However, there is a small lifeline if you want to experience at least part of this game. A playable demo of this game was in fact released online for this game a few years ago, but again sadly it doesn't work when you try and play it on a traditional Virtual Boy emulator either. I finally managed to get the demo working using some incredibly non-user friendly all-in-one system emulator known as the Mednafen, but had to play the demo using the bloody keyboard as I couldn't work out how to sync it up to a controller. But then again, I'm not the most technical man in the world, so maybe some of you people will have more luck with it than myself. Apparently the way this demo was intended to be played was on the actual Virtual Boy hardware itself, using the Virtual Boy flash cart known as the Flash Boy. I really need to invest in one of these things down the line, and as far as I am aware, they normally retail on eBay for about £80 a go. Anyway, now we have talked a bit about the game's history, let's talk about the game itself. According to the back of the games box, the fighters are back and they're badder than ever. They are faster, stronger, and have all new moves. Like in Street Fighter 2 Turbo, you choose from one of 12 fighters and make your way through round after round of opponents until you eventually get to face off against M. Bison. Along with its 12 characters, the game features adjustable speeds including a turbo mode, a survival mode, and even link cable support for 2-player modes. As far as I'm aware though, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not think the link cable has ever been shipped for the game yet. This Virtual Boy version of Street Fighter 2 even shows some complete reworkings of the original game. For example, the character select screen looks completely different to that of the original versions of the game. It is interesting to see that some of the people behind this release went to such lengths to create a good gameplay experience. This really is a great little love letter to the franchise. The music sounds similar to how it did in the original. The backgrounds look great and all of the in-game animations look very fluent. For a red and black Virtual Boy game, it is a treat for the eyes really. The game features the usual Street Fighter voice work, which is also easy to understand. The controls for this game are reportedly tight, as you'd expect in a Street Fighter title really. The only problem is though, is that the Virtual Boy controller doesn't have nearly enough face buttons. Instead of extra buttons, it has a second D-pad, which the coders map to throw the appropriate punches and kicks associated with the directional input triggered. To help assist with the unsuitable controller though, as well as to add yet another feat to the game's long list, the game reportedly has the ability to support a Super Nintendo pad, which is a step up from using 2 D-pads. But at the same time, you then have to ask yourself, should I have been playing Street Fighter 2 on a bloody SNES instead in the first place anyway? To summarise, as you can tell, this game looks very good for a Virtual Boy title, and at 32 meg it pushes the system to its limits. Everything about this game just oozes quality. It's a shame really that the homebrew community can put this amount of time into creating a quality title when Nintendo pumped such a small amount of time into Virtual Boy game development themselves. To be really fair though, if you're going to play a Street Fighter game for the proper Street Fighter experience, it is much easier and more straightforward to just play it on a different platform. This game is more of an interesting discussion piece than it really is anything else, simply for the impressive and clever feat of engineering that it was to even bring this game into existence in the first place. I doubt this is a game in which anyone would really want to spend a great amount of time playing, but the novelty factor combined with the now ridiculous price tag now certainly makes this an interesting part of Virtual Boy's controversial history. Thank you for watching today's video. I love discussing less mainstream parts of video game history. I'd like to thank Vectrix Rowley for inviting me to use his footage in the production of this video. I'll post a link to his channel at the end of this video for anyone who fancies subscribing to his YouTube channel. I'll also post annotations to some of my other videos I've made about the Virtual Boy. Once again, shout outs to Jarrett Tolzian, Mad 8 Productions, Andreas Larson, Peter Dawn, Mike Frost, Edward O'Reilly and all of my other patrons. You really help my channel out. If you want to be added to this prestigious list, then check out my Patreon page. Ta-ta and farewell.